All right, I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Blue Rush Podcast. Or, you know what? The 3-in-1 episode of the Blue Rush Podcast. The first time the Giants have been 3-1 since 2011. I am Brandon London. I am joined by two-time Super Bowl champ, who's been around in 2011, Lawrence Tynes, and we got New York Post Giants beat writer Paul Schwartz with us. This episode is presented by Tri-State Cadillac Dealers. Go ahead and get you a Cadillac, guys. Visit your Cadillac showroom today. A lot of y'all made money off this game. Again, the Giants are 3-1 after a 20-12 win over the Chicago Bears. We got a lot to talk about in this episode because the injuries piled up. Daniel Jones ran for 2 TDs. Saquon Barkley, 146 yards rushing. And the defense, Wink, we see you, baby. 6 sacks on the day. The energy was out of control at MetLife Stadium. Once again, I've never been around for a 3-1 Giants. So LT, jump right in, man, and just what was it like? What was it like watching from the TV? Moose Johnson, he wasn't hating like Troy Aikman was hating.
No,
what was it like, man?
I actually like Moose calling the games. It was a weird game for me to watch. A bunch of weird things happened. There was no passing, like we said earlier in the week, guys. Army versus Navy. It looked a lot like that for the first half. I mean, it was just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. You never apologize for winning in the NFL.
No.
The Giants are 3-1. I have no idea how the hell they're 3-1, but they're 3-1. And obviously they got a tough game coming up, but they should enjoy this one. It's tough to win in this league, and the Bears were not a very good team, and they won a game they should have won. But weird game. Injuries, no forward passing of the football. It was just ugly.
They were wearing their throwback jerseys, right, from the 1980 to 99 era, which are nice uniforms. The end zones are nice. This was they're wearing their throwbacks, and this was a throwback Giants Bears, but to like what, 1938 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Look, they ended the game, or close to end of the game, with Saquon Barkley playing quarterback. I mean, it was an amazing thing. You activate two quarterbacks get hurt. I don't think I've seen that. And it was just, they got a field goal on that drive with Saquon Barkley running the Wildcat. And, Saquon Barkley, we have to give this guy, look, we've been doing a podcast for a few years, and Saquon's been hurt and he's been running into the line. He's been having some bad games, but anybody who says we should trade this guy, we should get draft picks for this guy, he doesn't belong on the team next year. I mean, what are they watching? I mean,
who's saying that, Paul? Who is saying that?
There's a lot of fans.
A lot of Giants Twitter. A lot of Giants Twitter. And I'm sorry.
Look, he was the second pick in the draft. That's over. That's over. You have to look at him as a ball player. I mean, he was something. He was funny. He said, I saw Tyrod go down, and then it's like he said, I waited. I said, oh, wait a second. I'm the next man up. And then he kind of paused and said, I'm the quarterback. I'm the quarterback, he came in, and he said, it's just like it was as an 8-year-old running around out there. Brian Daboll said he actually got a grease board. Do you guys even know what a grease board is? Lawrence, were there grease boards on the sidelines when you were playing?
Yeah, they had them, but obviously we never had to use them. I heard that Saquon said they were drawing plays up on the sideline.
Wow.
The offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson, and Daboll, were from Buffalo together. And he said they were talking about things and things that they did. They had some things in the game already. Look, the Wildcat is a package. They haven't used it yet this year. As Brandon said, we've seen them do that in training camp with Daniel Jones split out wide. How about this? Daniel Jones is split out wide. He's got a bad ankle. He can't run. I mean, from the Bears, I'm not putting a real primetime defender on Daniel Jones. And Saquon said it's just reads. If this guy does this, I do this. If that guy does that, I do that. It's not that easy, but he actually thought Breida was going to break it on one of those plays, on one of those keepers he had. He gave it to Breida. He thought Breida was going to break it.
It was something that we've seen from training camp. And I think, I said this before, like Paul, it's almost like, it's not like to say it was an insurance policy. I imagine they put that in for short yardage, goal line type formations, but the Giants 44 carries, 262 yards, the highest rushing yardage since they ran for 308 versus Carolina, December 21st, 2008. Giants 44 rushing attempts, the highest total since 44 against Washington back in 2017. But to go back to 26, because I almost feel disrespectful calling him by his name. I have to call him by his number because he's not playing like a person. He's playing like some sort of superhero. And I want to call out Giants Twitter right now. They can at me, leave y'all alone. And there's just this one fan who's always so loud about, the Saquon draft pick is a big blunder and Dave Gettleman this. This is why you drafted him at number 2 overall. He's playing above the X's and O's. So when we're talking about Colin Cowherd, when he was talking about the limitations that Daniel Jones does to this offense and Brian Dable, and he doesn't play above the X's and O's, Saquon on that 3rd and long on that screen when he got hit, bounced off, Daniel Jones threw a block. He got the first. Daniel Jones scores on that. That's playing above the X's and O's. That's playing as a first-round pick. That's playing as a second pick of the draft. And you're seeing why people were not frustrated in the sense that he was going down, why we were so hurt when he went down with injuries, because last year, the last 2 years when he's been hurt, the offense has been nothing. It's been boring. It's been sobering to watch. And it's great to watch him getting this success. And you just hope that he can keep up with this for the entire year.
The offense is almost nothing now without him. I mean, the first completion to a receiver was in the last minute of the first half to David Sills, right? They finished this game with 3 receptions to wide receivers for 25 yards. I mean, that is not what NFL football is all about. Mm-hmm. Handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley, having Daniel Jones, on bootlegs with the option, running for first downs and running for 2 touchdowns, and occasionally throwing it to a tight end. I mean, what is this? The 1960s?
Hey, Paul, all these Giants receivers have second jobs. They work at Chick-fil-A.
Drive Uber.
They're not open on Sundays. Chick-fil-A is not open. That's who these guys are. They cannot get open. And listen, the game plan was the game plan early on.
Yeah.
A lot of boots, tight ends, and Saquon. And that's what we talked about last week, getting creative. This week, with the injuries, we'll see what happens.
Well, they did throw one down. They tried
to
Slayton. You've been calling for Slayton. They got a 40-yard pass interference. Slayton,
you called for a 40-yard pass last week. You said he would have, and there it was, and he dropped it.
But he got the pass interference on it.
He did. He still should have caught the football.
Kenny Golladay got hurt. I mean, look, we can, they won the game. They're 3-1. We can bust on Kenny Golladay all we want, but
it's not going to fix anything.
He literally looks like he can't run. What I mean? He just doesn't look like he can run out there. It's an amazing thing. And the team is 3-1 with a bunch of receivers like this. Shepard's hurt. I was wondering, Kadarius Toney, if he ever comes out of retirement and plays, if they can count on him, he could be he can throw the ball. Saquon's not going to throw the ball.
He would be a good wildcat option.
Right. Yeah. Right. If you can trust him. He can throw the ball, and that I'm sure they have a wildcat package in for him. He's got to get healthy. I don't know.
I need him back. I need him back, Paul. I need him back.
Wan'Dale Robinson too. Yeah.
And this isn't. Some people they'll try and take this. Tynes, they'll try and take it like we're jumping on them. Oh, why are you hating on me? You know how the new age athlete is. Like it's how social media is. But I don't think Kadarius Toney really understands right now. Again, if your hamstring's banged up, I get that. You got to get right. You got to get healthy. But this is your offense. Like you are the guy. You are the playmaker in this offense. So while we got the running back who can go for 30 plus carries, that's not sustainable within a full season, 30 plus carries. You're going to need to throw the ball. You're going to need the guy that you can throw a 5-yard hitch to and get us 50. And he's that guy. And watching David Seals, I know he was a fan favorite throughout the preseason. And I root for him because he's an undrafted guy. Obviously, I root for him. This is the opportunity for you. You can't slip against the Cowboys in a key moment like that. And you got to catch that ball from T2, from Tyrod Taylor on that off that RPO, that slant. So it's like when I look at David Seals, I'm looking at him like, you've got a chance to have the career that I wish I had in the NFL, you know? So when I root for him, it doesn't come from a fan. It comes from I need you to catch that ball because this buys you 3+ years in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? And
he doesn't have a lot of leeway, right? He wasn't a highly drafted guy. He's not a Kadarius Toney. And I wonder if Dable envisioned Kadarius Toney as kind of like his Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, but you're talking about an elite route runner who's always available. And that is two things that Kadarius Toney is not.
And look, these guys didn't draft. These guys didn't.
They didn't draft him. I know.
I don't think they would have drafted him. You know,
all you can think of is the 10 for 189 in Dallas last year.
Yep.
And then the Saints game, was that a week later? Or was it? I don't remember. But that's what sticks in your mind in terms of talent. But these injuries are far too frequent for somebody. Does he just need to toughen up a little bit and play through a little bit of something? Who knows? I don't know. But you got to have him. If you go to London without Wandale playing and Kadarius Toney, so be London, they might call you up.
Snap.
You're the most interesting guy here.
They cut me twice. They're gonna call me now.
I mean,
well, look at the name. Look at they're playing. It's Kismet. That's a good story.
Be London in London.
Yeah.
Against the Pack.
I'm gonna just stick to this whole TV thing because it's like a little less on the body. But to transition, we're talking about the receiving core and lack thereof.
Oh, it's bad.
Is this a case to get Daniel Jones paid? I don't want to hear no more talk about Daniel Jones, people piling on this kid. This kid dropped his nuts again and toughened it out. 2 rushing touchdowns. One thing I loved was how they reverse booted. Instead of booting to his right side, he's a right-handed quarterback. They created, again, it's another thing where Dan Orlovsky was talking about how last year the offensive coordinator, the offensive play calling was not advantageous to this offense. This year, you're seeing different schemes, which is allowing them to create space, to get guys open, to get in the tight ends open. Daniel Jones is, maybe they don't pay him off this year, but you got to give him some sort of money off of what he's doing with less. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's early. It's still early though. We'll see.
It's still early, but he's playing like a Gucci, like he's Gucci but with Marshall's receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but don't forget
Gucci versus Marshalls. Love it.
Don't forget though, he might miss a game. You know, he has trouble staying on the field. You know, now that was not a run. He got sacked. He got twisted on a sack. You know what I mean? So it's just, you know, Tyrod came in. Tyrod looked good. Then he went out. You know, it's a helmet-to-helmet hit. They didn't call it.
Oh, by the way, he sold out to get that first down. By the way, I got to give a lot of preps to him. That was a courageous play for a 12-year vet.
Yeah.
To come in and make that play, and it sucked. I knew immediately when he turned his head. Obviously, he lost the football, but hopefully he's okay.
Tynes, do you credit that to the coaching though? I'm going to get this first down because of the culture and the coaching.
Way different. And obviously Tyrod Taylor is a competitor. He's been playing in this league a very long time. I thought the offense looked great with him, right? I know I wasn't like a typical fan, like, oh my God, Tyrod Taylor's coming in. I was like, okay, he's got a nice skill set. He can help this team win. I hated that Daniel got hurt again. It just kind of, it's not necessarily going to kill him at the end of the year, but it's just another thing to talk about. Oh, he can't stay healthy. You know, it's just one of those things. He's limping around out there, and he had had he finished that game, you'd have been said, man, that's 2 weeks in a row. This guy has really put this team on his back. You know, he scored 2 rushing touchdowns. They couldn't get the ball to receivers. But again, we're talking about him being hurt, and that's never a good thing with a quarterback, right, Paul?
He tried to come back. He said he was on the sideline and he said, look, I'm good. And Brian Dable saw him on the side. He said, no, you can't protect yourself. You're not going in the game. Look, he came in, he did come back in the game and he just handed the ball off. You know what I mean? And I asked Daniel, he said, no, it was hurting. I could not move. No, it was hurting. I don't know if it's a high ankle sprain or not. I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw anything. Daniel wouldn't say
that would
exactly
not be good.
What it was. That would not be good, but he's, it's going to be tough for him, ankle. He's missed games with ankles before. He needs to run. He's a running quarterback. So if he can't run, he can't play. He's not going to sit in the pocket. If he can't run, he can't play.
Yeah. So it's the Davis Webb show. Davis Webb he knows this offense. He's going to be the next man up. You kind of have to be. I look at Davis Webb as a guy who he hasn't treated himself as a practice squad quarterback. I think of him as a guy who wants that opportunity, and the offensive line is playing better. I think that Green Bay is going to stack that box. They're going to make sure they take Saquon out of the game because that's the only home run hitter on this offense. But for the offensive line, for how they played against Dallas compared to how they played against Robert Quinn and this Chicago Bears front seven and defensive line, it was night and day compared to last Monday. And I don't know what it is. Paul, you were there at Quest Diagnostics the entire week. Like, what did you see in terms of preparation or OG? I like to say OG Bobby Johnson from the song, but Coach Bobby Johnson getting these guys prepared? It's like Evan Neal took accountability for the 4 sacks for last week, but the offensive line played as a unit and they looked night and day. It's unfortunate that Evan Neal hurt his neck. I walked through the locker room on Monday. Evan Neal, I guess he wears contacts on the field because he wears glasses. He's a big, tall dude. Huge. He's studious wearing glasses. And he walked through the locker room, right? And I kind of nodded, Evan. He was serious. He was ticked off all week. He was serious. This was not, I'm afraid, or, it wasn't all on me. He was like, look, he said he's never been dominated like that in his life. You know what I mean? And you just take one look at him. I imagine in middle school and high school and at Alabama, he was not dominated like that. So he didn't like it. Neck injury, is he going to be able to come back from that? I doubt it. Glowinski got hurt and came back. The defense didn't give up a touchdown in this game, and you're going to win if you don't give up a touchdown. Julian Love out with a concussion. Aaron Robinson, knee. That's 2 guys, starting guys in a defensive backfield. That's a tough shot. This was a physical game. It's amazing. I sit up in the press box and it's comfortable, and I don't hear the hits. It's a different deal. I watch it down there. And some of these games, you go through the game and it's kind of like it's just a regular game, and these guys don't get battered and beaten. Some of these games, man, it's like a body bag, right? Both teams. This was a physical game. This was really physical. They lost a lot of guys in this game. Other than the 2 quarterbacks, they lost a lot of guys. I mean, they're going to fly to London, but I don't. There's going to be a lot of empty seats open.
Paul, maybe you can hop on. And now, if you wear glasses, you're considered studious. All right, great job. Just because you wear glasses, you call in Evan Neal studious, huh, Paul?
Yeah, he's.
Let's talk about this. Let's get into my lane. Special teams sucked. Now they they ended the game with a terrific play, massive punt by the Scottish Hammer, but that game was only close, in my opinion, because of the failures of the special teams. And I mean, you can go to the punter with 2 touchbacks early. You can go to the Brightwell bringing the kick out, backing up. That's a no-no, right, Brandon? That's a no-no. You're backing up, and they're kicking off from closer. It was a disastrous play. And then you've got Richie James with the fumble. That was a huge momentum killer in the game. And then, of course, the autopilot kicker misses kind of like I don't want to call it a game ceiling, but it really was, right? With 17 seconds left. A little bit of a hairy snap there. So the special teams just have not been good. Let's be real. They've made timely plays, right? If you think the Carolina game, opening kickoff fumble, and then a timely play today to end the game. But man, the consistency is not there at all.
How can they be 3-1? It's amazing. They can't throw the ball. They had no pass rush for a couple of weeks. And, you figure this is the kind of thing, they're totally on point and buttoned up with their special teams. Now, Graham is a great kicker, but you're right. Somebody, they lost about 20 yards in field position.
On the holding. They had a holding, and then they had a guy run out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
Pinnock? Is it
Pinnock?
Pinnock?
Yeah, Pinnock ran out of bounds.
27?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I don't want to get to, Thomas McGahee, he's a very, very dear friend of mine.
Yep.
I'm not going to get in on him, but man, these guys are just making mistakes all over the field. And I'm sure that's the number one priority coming into this week against the Packers, because the Packers are not very good on special teams. And that's one advantage we could have. But you're right. If you think about it, we have no interceptions on defense.
Yep.
0.
We're not very good on special teams. We're not very good on offense. Actually, we're below average. We're poor, and they're 3-1. I don't know if that's the state of the teams they played. I don't know what it is. Timely plays. We don't turn the ball over a lot. I don't know what if we're plus or minus, whatever the total number is. But it's a weird deal, man.
Now, didn't you think I liked when Ojulari and Kayvon, the two young edge rushers, combined on a fumble and a recovery. Ojulari on the second to last play of the game went out. His calf was bothering him. He said he's going to be okay, but that's the same calf. Kayvon's back tightened up. So, when guys come back from a calf and then they tweak it again, maybe it was just a tweak. It usually isn't, because those guys are starting. You can see it now, right? Can you see it with Kayvon? You can see it starting.
I saw him ramping up second half. He was really beating his guy. He was getting a little bit of pressure. Of course, that's an elite athlete at quarterback. He's not going to see that every Sunday. I mean, Justin Fields probably was the best athlete on the field.
Absolutely.
So, and he actually played okay. I mean, he made some big time throws, but the Bears just aren't very good. So
I'm sorry to backtrack to go back to the special teams times, but you're talking about missed kick, drop, fumble. Take us through a special teams meeting. Like how much, because again, T-Mac, really good friends of both of ours. How much of it is where T-Mac would be like, hey, this is an ownership from a scheme situation, or we may not have practiced this too. The player has to take his accountability. How much are you seeing in terms of that dynamic, that balance?
Oh, listen, T-Mac is going to get in what?
Yep.
In the meeting room. That's just how he is. He's going to love you, and he's going to get in your stuff whenever you mess up. So he'll call you out in front of the whole team. But these are stupid errors. Like, I get the holding error. That's going to happen. Like, that's, you can call holding on every special team, but the running out of bounds, the ball security issue with Richie James, which has typically not been an issue with him. I actually think he's a pretty secure ball carrier, but what else? A little bit of a bad snap on that field goal, and Kreider's had a couple of those this year. Obviously, if you think back to the PAT against the Titans. So who knows? Maybe bring in another snapper. I mean, I know the snapper wears a C on his chest, but you can't have wonky snaps. No wonky snapping.
I just wanted to touch base on that because I don't think people, especially in podcasts, I don't think they break down special teams enough. I think they're just like, oh, special
and we
teams
talk about it too
better.
Much here, I guess, according to Paul.
Yeah. But to go back to Aziz, and Kayvon, what you guys are saying, like being able to watch those guys from the 200s, 300s when I'm, watching up. 5 looks like the 5th overall pick sometimes when he's coming across that edge. Like when he had that roughing the passer, I tweeted, did Ohio State beat Oregon a couple years ago? Because that looked a little personal when he went.
It did. That was a stupid play on his part.
And you saw Dable pointing to his head like, you got to use your brain on that. You got to use your brain. And you didn't see anything else after. You didn't see any. I don't think that he probably had a negative play after that in that sense. And Aziz, you're getting to see. All right, even Wink Martindale, take my check, bro. Like you can have my check. This dude, no touchdowns again. It's another game of a team not scoring a touchdown in the first half, let alone they didn't score the entire game. We talked about what Patrick Graham had to go through last year, holding teams to 13, 17 points. Wink Martindale has this defense playing lights out. Jahad Ward, all these guys.
And you look, Wink said it last week. We're just starting to know these guys. Austin Calitro was a starting inside linebacker in week 1.
Yep.
He was a healthy scratch today, right? They try Micah McFadden, as a starting inside linebacker.
He had a bad play too.
Jalen Smith played better, so Jalen Smith, maybe he'll start next game. It's look, how about Dexter Lawrence? Dexter Lawrence, everyone's been saying, well,
phenomenal game.
He's a good
Phenomenal
player, but
game.
he's not a pass rusher. He ragdolled Fields on one of those plays. He was forceful without Leonard Williams. Maybe Leonard Williams will be back this week in London. I think
He had a great game.
Yeah, so
he had a great game.
Very solid. But
two sacks, 3 pressures, Paul. Two sacks for Dexter
yeah.
Lawrence, 3 pressures. That's a hell of a game for a D tackle.
And against, like, as we said, an elite athlete who's not standing in the pocket. Look, Wink is doing it. It's not with smoke and mirrors, but he's got some issues, He's got Fabian Moreau starting, playing cornerback because Aaron Robinson, who comes back after 2 weeks after having his appendix out, he hurts his knee. There's a lot of mixing and matching out there. You can count on one hand the guys who are out there every day for him.
Yeah, he had a nice game. He had Fabian Moreau.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. Yep.
Now it's against Justin Fields and not Aaron Rodgers. I get that, but athletes are just all confidence. And if he had a good game and he thinks he's going to play good next week, that's what you want in your corners. Listen, this guy catches a lot of heat, especially on social media. Tay Crowder balled today. 11 tackles. What do you have? A sack, 2 tackles for loss.
Big third down stop.
Say it again, Tynes.
Tay Crowder balled today against the Bears. He gets a lot of slack, and I get it. He is not an elite middle linebacker. He is an NFL football player. I don't know if he's out of position. I don't know if he's an outside guy in a 4-3. I don't know what he is, but I know he can play from time to time. And he had a hell of a game. And Jalen Smith, Dexter Lawrence, the Nick Williams guy, who a lot of people probably didn't even know was on this team, he had a really good game. I thought he played well too in the middle stuff in the run. So kudos to Wink for putting the pieces together. But I definitely want to make sure I shouted out Tay Crowder because he played well. He played really well.
I stopped by Xavier McKinney's locker though, and he said, look, we got to get our stuff together for Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
they realize what they've been playing, and they're not disrespecting anybody, but they know Mayfield,
Tannehill,
Cooper Rush. Well, Tannehill.
Cooper Rush is the best quarterback they've played against.
Well, okay, maybe he is, but what is that saying?
I'm saying week, to date.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
Cooper Rush
I'm
is
just
the
saying
best quarterback they played against.
When we looked at the schedule, we said we don't know what the Giants are, but if they're anything, they could get out to a decent start, not 3-1, maybe 2-2, because the schedule is just not that good. Well, the schedule is really not that good, and they're 3-1. So that's look, it's about as well as they could have done. It starts getting real after this, but you know what? 3-1. If they lose next week, they're 3-2. They're okay. Look, the division's pretty good. Eagles are the only undefeated team in the league. Cowboys are 3-1. So, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. The division is the division. The Giants are changing the culture. They got a new coaching staff. They're sorting through a lot of new players. They're trying to figure it out, and they're winning. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought they would do a lot of that other stuff, but they would take a lot of lumps. They're winning.
So when Xavier McKinney says we need to get our stuff together for Aaron Rodgers, I'm taking that in terms of playing a quarterback with accuracy and not athleticism in that sense, because he's not going to hurt you like Justin Fields hurts you with his feet getting out of there. You can grab onto him, get him down, but you see a couple throws that have been Baker didn't make, Ryan Tannehill didn't make, even Cooper Rush didn't make in that sense. Aaron Rodgers dropping that in the bucket. Let's be honest. So to go back and give my praise to Fabian Moreau, earlier in the game, he came on, it was cover 3. They ran that little wheel route. Xavier was under the wheel route. He passed the post off to the deep third safety, came off, made the play. Another one later on in the game, he didn't get his head back, but you saw him. You waited till the receiver's hands went up, and then he went and played the ball and played the hands. Times you were talking about the confidence. that's just something, that confidence comes in being able to do that within practice, being able to do that in the individual part of practice in Indy, and going into practice 1-on-1, 7-on-7s or whatever, and working that technique, and then getting out to the game. You're seeing guys who, again, the Tay Crowders, the other Williams, like I'm sitting there like, who is this Williams? Leonard Williams? I don't see no hair. He cut his hair. Like, who is this dude? You're seeing guys who normally you wouldn't play with on Madden, like you wouldn't play with them, but they're making plays within this defense. So you got to I'm crediting Wink Martindale. I'm crediting this defense, their captains, for playing as a unit, and you're seeing it. And I think they have confidence going in against a Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, they're going to get a heavy dose of run too. That's a show for next week, but the Packers can run the football too. The one pass that Adoree Jackson gave up to Justin Fields, I mean, that was an absolute dime.
The coverage was good. The coverage
was good, but that's what you're going to get against an Aaron Rodgers type team. You have to break up some of those plays, because I saw it this afternoon in the late game day window. He's doing the same stuff. Now, the receivers aren't as good as what he's had, but they're getting better every week. And obviously the Patriots took him down to the wire, but it'll be a test. But, first and foremost, these injuries they're going to pose some problems for this team.
Oh, big time. I mean, Julian Love plays every snap. I don't know where you replace him. He plays every snap, and the quarterbacks, the quarterbacks are the quarterbacks. Look, now we've seen guys, Daniel Jones had a concussion. Remember the one where he got up and kind of was really,
he played a week later.
He played the next week. So maybe Tyrod can, every concussion's different. I don't know if the feel of the league right now with concussions after Tua, I don't think the Giants will say we're going to be more careful now. The Giants are going to say we're always careful. But maybe just the whole tone of the league, they're going to try to, err on the side of not playing him. But he'll have to go through the concussion protocol. And, it's too bad because, I think we'd like to see Tyrod Taylor play a game. No one wants Daniel Jones to be hurt. But what is everyone saying? Well, this is the best backup they've had in so many years. And it would be interesting to see Tyrod play a whole game. We'll see. Maybe he can. We'll see.
Another thing, too, Paul, on that, it'll be interesting to see what the protocols are now. Because they said they were going to change them like over the weekend and through the early part of this week. Like, what do they look like anymore? It might be a lot automatic.
Of that, though, wasn't a lot like with the gross motor skills that if that happens, you have to come out of the game. That didn't happen with Tyrod, but he got hit and ran right off the
I did see him move pretty well. He ran back into the locker room, but he did lose consciousness. You saw it for whatever it was, a millisecond when he went like this. He did lose consciousness. So I don't know how many he's had in his career. We'll find out more this week, but hopefully that's just the first one. And then maybe he has a chance to play, but we'll see.
Forget the league. Remember Brian Dable, when talking about Tua, got really emotional.
Yeah.
So you can't get emotional when talking about one player and then one of your own players goes down and suffers a concussion and you throw him back.
Well, he coached Tua at Bama, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he coach?
Yeah, he was he was one of the assistants on that staff.
The offensive coordinator.
Yeah. He's an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So he seems like one of those guys who treats his players like the brother, the homie type thing, but at the same time, I'm still your coach. We still have that line cross. He cares about his players in that sense. So.
See, but the thing is, the protocol is supposed to take that out of it.
Right.
Not emotion, not he's my guy, or I'm going to protect him. The protocol. See, that's why I don't understand with this whole Tua thing. Why are they now? Weren't we under the impression that these concussion protocols were really buttoned up? They have an independent neurologist. They have a spotter. That it's supposed to be. We're supposed to get that macho out of the game. I'm going to stay in. And so, Tyrod will go through the protocols. And if he doesn't, A, B, C, D, however many things he's got to pass, if he has a roadblock, he doesn't play.
Paul, the players, and Brandon can tell you this, have too much say-so in those protocols. Okay. That's the problem.
Yeah,
that's the problem. No, it's reality. That's the problem. It's been
in
talked
what way?
about.
You mean they want to play?
So I'll give you exactly that. That's one piece of it. But I can tell you, like, when you do your baseline test, okay, you go in there and they basically they give you a little like tablet, right, or whatever. It's like on an iPad, and you literally on your time go in there and just sit there and answer questions.
What
now,
do you tank?
Answer questions.
The people
and you tank it. You
They
tank it.
Yeah.
You automatically tank it. No one's looking over your shoulder to see if you're screwing around. No one knows if you're screwing around. It's your test. It's personal. And everybody tanks it. And I would say everybody tanks it, including the kicker.
Yeah.
Everybody tanks it. That's kind of the
word
around the locker room.
Being here, the baseline is here.
So when you do get dinged and you go back in there after you get dinged after a game like this, like Daniel did, or I'm sorry, Tyrod Taylor did, he's going to go in there and he's going to score better than he did originally. And that's the baseline. But that's why I'm saying the protocols are going to change, because the league knows that now. They know that players tanked it. They know that players are obviously their worst enemy. So again, that's why I think Tyrod Taylor may actually have to miss a game. I don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah, it's like it's at the baseline. I like it. I liken that baseline to the SATs. Just go in and answer C. Just, or no, Scantron test. Just go and answer C, but again, even him flying over to London, when you have a concussion, you don't want to fly. You don't want that kid to fly back. I remember my second concussion in Canada. I applied so much pressure to our training staff, yelling, screaming, cussing, let me back in, let me be London. Like you're knocked out. You're in Regina, Saskatchewan. I didn't know where I was in that sense, but the competitor in you feel weak. You feel like less of a man, less of an athlete. Anytime you got to get carted off the field, you can't people have to help you off the field, or if it's something where you have to remove yourself.
That's the problem with it, Brandon. They need to take that stereotype away.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Matt Hasselbeck said this on ESPN show today. He said, we need to stop calling it a concussion and call it a brain injury, because that's what it is. Yeah. Concussion sounds like it's not a big deal. When you say it is a brain injury, it adds a little bit more credence and importance to it, because that's exactly what it is. And I think that's the best way I've heard it laid out.
Right, because if a guy goes out and you say, what happened? He's got a knee. Nobody says, go out and play with a knee, right? You can't play with the knee. So yeah, maybe if they say brain.
I like that more. I think people should attach the significance to it, because there's an element of, with Tua that, I mean, it'd be hard for me as his father to watch my son go play again the rest of the season. It would be, after seeing that, and even him and his family and his wife, I think he just recently got married. That's tough, man. Your long-term health, this game is over in a flash, and you just want to see him live a healthy life. Obviously, money's one thing. He's made a bunch of it already, but you just don't want to see anything like that again. That was nasty.
All right. Game balls. Time to give out the game balls. Who goes first?
Listen, I'll go first, and I'm going to give mine to Tay Crowder.
Yeah.
Tay Crowder defensively was a machine. He gets a lot of flack from Giants Nation. He balled. No one can take that away from him today. He had a great game. He played well. He led. He plays with a smile. I love his energy. I love that he plays with a lot of energy. I'm giving my game ball to Tay Crowder.
Well, what are we doing with Saquon? Are we giving him a game ball?
I was going to let you give him his flowers, Paul.
Brandon, you want to give one to Saquon?
Did you get an autograph post game too? I mean, you said he was chumming it up after the game with you.
Look, the guy,
he's a stud.
What? You know what? And he has come from a low, remember when people were criticizing him, he would show up in those Zooms or other things, and he'd be but I'm just saying, he was wearing a hoodie, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking really quiet. And it was like, boy, Saquon he's not in a good spot. He wasn't in a good spot. It wasn't that he wasn't a good guy or a good team player.
I don't know many players that were on that team.
Right? He couldn't understand it. I can't do what I want to do. I'm not healthy. Nobody's blocking for me. Is this going to go completely south on me? So I'll give it to Saquon, not just because he was really good, because he's come far. He really has. It's amazing. I'm was writing today, and then I said, I wanted to put, the 20, I wanted to put the age, let's not forget, he's a running back, even though he played quarterback, and it's like 25. And I stopped for a second. I said, 25. I mean,
25.
He's not going to be 26 till the end, after the season in February.
That's crazy.
That is so right. 25 is incredible.
He's played a lot of football, and he's had a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but You see that sparkle back in his eye when he's interviewing. You see it. It's visual to us. We know what he looks like because we follow this team. But you can see the eyes are what do they say? The window to the soul.
Yeah.
And he looks. You can tell he's happy, and I'm happy.
And he's
for him.
better now than he was as a rookie. I don't think there's any question about it. And he's better. He's smarter. He sees it better. He's more patient, and he's just a better player. It's a nice thing to see. I mean, who doesn't like Saquon, right? I mean,
and the biggest thing is that they're winning games. Like you could come back and have this individual success you're having, but he's not. He doesn't seem like that type of guy. He's never come off as someone who cares about individual accolades. The fact that they're winning these games because of him, I think that means a lot to him. It means even more. So I'm giving my game ball to the Giants offensive line. Run game, you got to open up the holes for him. They were putting body on body for him. He's a couple times he got into the second level, almost into the third level. You want to see a receiver hold that block a little bit longer, but then you just don't want the holding. So if it's like, all right, if you got to let it go, let it go. But the Giants offensive line, one sack, two, I think one, two. I think Daniel Jones took one sack. T2 took maybe one sack. They held up. They gave them an opportunity. They gave Daniel Jones a chance to look down the field. He didn't throw it because guys weren't open. But I think from going from Monday night to Sunday, the Giants offensive line showed improvement. And I got to tip my hat to them for that. So as a receiver, I'm like, we gotta do better for you guys since you're giving us that time and all. But at the end of the day, you're going to run the ball 44 times a game or however many times they ran. Like you said, Army versus Navy. If you're going to do that in the NFL, offensive line has to be there. The head coach, offensive coordinator has to have confidence in you.